Antarctica has long been shrouded in mystery, a frozen expanse at the bottom of the world, untouched, unexplored, and hiding secrets beneath its endless ice. While most see only snow and silence, others whisper of something far more profound. Hidden landscapes. Lost civilizations. And perhaps, a world within our world. In 1947, during what was said to be a routine polar flight, a seasoned American admiral allegedly encountered something that defied all logic. His flight log, kept hidden for decades, describes a journey beyond the known, through shifting skies, failing instruments, and into a place where green valleys flourish beneath the ice, ancient beings walk, and technology far surpasses our own. This is not a tale of science fiction. It is presented as a confidential journal, written by a man torn between duty and truth. Suppressed by authorities, dismissed by skeptics, but passed down through whispers and scattered documents. Now, you will hear Admiral Byrd's original journal for yourself, and decide what to believe. This is my personal and concealed journal concerning a mysterious journey into the Earth's interior. I pen these words in secrecy, uncertain of the full meaning of what I experienced. A time inevitably comes when the truth overshadows all logical thought. I am not authorized to publicly release the documentation that follows, not at this moment, and perhaps not ever. But I feel it is my obligation to chronicle everything here, in hopes that it will one day be revealed and understood. Flight Log, February 19, 1947. 6 a.m., our preparations for the expedition northward are finalized. 6:10 a.m., we lift off with fuel tanks fully loaded. 6:20 a.m., the air-fuel ratio in the starboard engine appears overly rich. An adjustment is made, and the T-bowl engine stabilizes into smooth operation. 7:30 a.m., we maintain stable radio communication with the base, transmission signals are strong and uninterrupted. 7:40 a.m., we detect a minor oil leak on the right engine. Despite this, the oil pressure remains within acceptable parameters. 8 a.m., some turbulence is encountered as we fly eastward at an elevation of 2,321 feet. We descend to 1,700 feet, after which the air smooths out. However, the tailwind grows stronger. We apply slight throttle corrections, and the aircraft now handles optimally. 8:15 a.m., radio transmissions are stable. 8:30 a.m., additional turbulence prompts us to climb to 2,900 feet. Conditions then return to calm. 9:10 a.m., below us lies an endless expanse of snow and ice. Some areas show unusual yellowish discoloration. We alter course to inspect further. More regions appear tinged with reddish and violet tones. We circle the anomalies twice before resuming our original heading. Communication with base is confirmed, we report our position and observations regarding the unusual coloration beneath us. Suddenly, both magnetic and gyro compasses malfunction. Their needles spin erratically, rendering them unusable for navigation. We shift to using the solar compass, which enables us to maintain direction, though aircraft control becomes difficult. Despite this, no structural icing is visible on the fuselage. 9:15 a.m., in the distance, formations resembling mountains begin to emerge. 9:49 a.m., after flying for 29 minutes, we confirm that the formations are indeed a small mountain range, one that I've never seen before. 9:55 a.m., we ascend to 2,950 feet due to renewed turbulence. 10 a.m., flying over the ridge, we continue due north. Beyond it, we observe a green clearing with a flowing stream or river at its center. But it should be impossible, there should be only ice and snow here. Something is terribly wrong. To the left, a forest lines the mountain slopes. Our instruments continue spinning erratically. The gyroscope swings back and forth. 10:05 a.m., I descend to 1,400 feet and bank sharply left to examine the area more closely. The clearing is green, perhaps moss, or dense interwoven grass. The lighting feels strange. I can no longer spot the sun. We bank again and spot a massive creature below, at first glance, an elephant. No, it more closely resembles a mammoth. Astounded, we drop to 1,000 feet. I grab my binoculars for a better look. There's no doubt, this is a living mammoth-like being. I notify base of the sighting. 10:30 a.m., we spot more hills covered in green foliage. The external temperature gauge reads 74 degrees Fahrenheit, approximate 23 degrees Celsius. We continue flying northward. The aircraft instruments appear to return to normal operation. I remain puzzled by their earlier erratic behavior. Attempts to re-establish contact via radio are unsuccessful, the system is unresponsive. 11:30 a.m., the terrain beneath us becomes more level and unexpectedly normal in appearance. Ahead, something astonishing comes into view, a structure, a settlement, maybe even a city. The aircraft begins to behave unusually. Controls feel weightless, almost as though the plane is gliding independently of input. I try to adjust, but there is no reaction. Suddenly, strange aircraft appear flanking both sides of our wings. Their movements are swift and calculated. The objects are shaped like discs and gleam metallically in the sunlight. As they draw near, markings become visible, symbols resembling swastikas. Unbelievable. I attempt to maneuver the plane, pulling the yoke. Nothing happens. We are caught, trapped, by something invisible, as though held in suspension by a massive unseen force. 11:35 a.m., our radio crackles back to life. A voice comes through, speaking English but with a subtle Germanic or Scandinavian accent. "Admiral, welcome to our domain. In a matter of minutes, you will land. Be at ease, Admiral, you are in safe hands." I observe the engines ceasing operation. Our aircraft begins to turn, entirely under external control. My attempts to steer are useless. 11:40 a.m., another message comes through. We are informed that landing has begun. The aircraft vibrates gently as it descends, seemingly riding an invisible platform. The descent is slow and smooth, ending with the faintest jolt as we touch down. 11:45 a.m., I make a final entry into the official flight log. Several tall figures approach the aircraft on foot. They appear human but are strikingly tall and blonde. In the distance lies an immense city, glowing and pulsing in a spectrum of colors. I can't say what happens next. No weapons are visible. I hear a voice again, this time addressing me by name and instructing me to open the cargo hatch. I obey. End of flight log. From here, I rely entirely on memory. What follows would be dismissed as sheer fantasy if it hadn't occurred firsthand. My radio operator and I are escorted from the plane with surprising warmth and courtesy. We are led to a type of vehicle that seems to hover. It resembles a flat platform, lacking any wheels or visible propulsion. It carries us at high speed toward the city. As we draw closer, the structures appear crafted from crystalline materials, glowing with internal light. Soon, we arrive at a grand building, unlike any I have ever encountered. Its architectural style recalls the work of Frank Lloyd Wright, an American visionary known for extraordinary designs, such as the NJ Water Project or the Solomon Museum. It even evokes the imagination of old science fiction tales featuring Buck Rogers. We are offered drinks, strange in color and taste, unlike anything I've ever experienced. The flavor is rich and energizing. After around 10 minutes, our hosts return. They tell me I must accompany them. I agree, leaving my radio man behind. We board what looks like an elevator. It descends for a time before halting. The door opens silently. We step into a corridor bathed in soft pink light, as if the very walls emit the glow. Eventually, we stop before a massive door, etched with unfamiliar symbols. With no sound, it slides open. Inside, I am enveloped in a bright, radiant light. After my vision adjusts, I realize I'm standing in a chamber of unimaginable beauty. It is both delicate and majestic, there are no proper words to describe its wonder with fidelity. Then, a warm, melodic voice speaks. "Welcome to our world, Admiral." I see an elder seated behind a great table. His features are calm and wise. He gestures for me to sit, then joins his fingers and smiles. The elder's voice remains gentle and steady as he speaks. "We allowed your entry because you are a man of integrity, known upon the surface of your world. Admiral, what you call the surface is not the totality of Earth. You are now in the domain of the Ariani, a civilization of the inner Earth. We won't keep you long, nor interfere with your duties. You will return safely, but before that, I must explain why you are here." He pauses, then continues. "Ever since the detonation of your atomic weapons, first in Hiroshima, then Nagasaki, we have been observing your species. In those turbulent times, we began deploying our aerial vessels into your outer atmosphere to study what had happened. That time has passed, but the concern remains. We once chose not to involve ourselves in the violent affairs of mankind. But now, you have gained control of a power far beyond your comprehension, nuclear energy. This force is not meant for humanity. You have misused it." He looks deeply into my eyes as though peering into my very thoughts. "We have already delivered messages to your leaders, yet they have ignored them. Today, you have been selected as a witness, to testify that our world is real. As you can see, our culture and knowledge surpass yours by many thousands of years." I interrupt, still shaken. "But, what does any of this have to do with me?" His eyes narrow, as if he's scanning my mind, then he replies with measured gravity. "Your people have reached a critical threshold. There are those among you who would rather annihilate the entire planet than relinquish their power. They understand what they possess, and they will not surrender it willingly. We reached out, but were met with hostility. Our craft were fired upon, pursued, and targeted for destruction. Because of this, my son, I must tell you, a great tempest gathers in your world. A black storm. A fury that will not be quelled for many years." He lets the word settle. Then continues. "No weapons will shield you. Your science will fail to protect you. The tempest will rage until every last blossom of your culture is crushed, until humanity itself is driven into chaos. What you experienced as your last war, that was only the prelude." My voice is barely a whisper. "This has happened before," I say. "There have been dark ages. They lasted hundreds of years." He nods slowly. "Yes, my son. Another dark age is coming, one far more profound. A shadow will cover your world. Yet, I still believe some of your kind will endure. Beyond the destruction, a new world will rise from the ruins. A people will seek the ancient wisdom lost to time. And when that moment arrives, we will return. What remains of your culture and knowledge will be restored. The cycle will begin again. Perhaps then, your race will abandon war and competition. And maybe, just maybe, you will earn back the sacred truths you've long forgotten." He grows silent. I feel the weight of his words settle in my chest. "Now, Admiral," he says finally, "you must return. You carry a message, not for your superiors, but for your people." At that moment, I understand. The meeting is over. For a brief time, I remained in silence, almost dreamlike, processing what had just transpired. Yet somewhere within, I knew it was all real. Without fully knowing why, I bowed gently, perhaps out of reverence, perhaps humility. I couldn't explain the impulse. Then I noticed my 2 escorts had returned and were standing quietly beside me. "This way, Admiral," one of them said calmly. Before stepping out, I turned one final time toward the elder. A faint smile crossed his wise face, and he spoke once more. "Farewell, my son," he said, raising his hand in a gesture of peace. That was the end of our encounter. We exited the chamber and passed back through the great doorway. Once again, we entered the elevator-like platform. The door closed silently behind us, and the cabin began its ascent. One of the escorts spoke softly. "We must move quickly, Admiral. The Master wishes no further delay. You are to return now, carrying this message to your people." I didn't respond. Everything that had happened defied belief. Yet my thoughts were interrupted again when we reached the surface. The door slid open. I stepped into a familiar space, beside my radio operator, who looked deeply unsettled. I approached and placed a hand on his shoulder. "It's all right, Howie," I said. "We're all right." Two escorts led us outside, where our aircraft stood, powered and waiting. We boarded without delay. As soon as the cargo hatch was secured, the plane lifted into the sky, not by its own thrust, but by an unseen force. We rose to 2,700 feet, steadily and silently. On either side of our aircraft, the two disc-shaped ships escorted us once more. I glanced at the speed gauge, it read 0, yet we were clearly moving at tremendous velocity. 2:15 p.m., a transmission came over the radio. "We are leaving you now, Admiral. Your controls have been restored. Auf Wiedersehen." We watched silently as the strange ships faded into the pale blue sky. Suddenly, the aircraft jolted sharply, like it had dropped into a vacuum pocket of air. I quickly regained control and stabilized the plane. Neither of us spoke. We each wrestled with our own thoughts. 2:20 p.m., we're back over expansive fields of snow and ice, approximately 20 minutes from our base. Contact with the station is re-established. We report that everything is normal. The base replies with clear relief to hear our voices again. 3 p.m., a soft and smooth landing. The journey is complete. I have a mission to fulfill. March 11, 1947. Today, I stood before a room full of high-ranking officials at the Pentagon. I delivered my full report, every detail of what I encountered, and the message entrusted to me by the Master of the Inner World. My statement was carefully documented. The report was passed directly to the President. And then, without explanation, I was taken into custody. For exactly 6 hours and 39 minutes, I was interrogated by military security personnel and examined by medical experts. The tone was clinical, impersonal. They called it a debrief. I call it containment. I was placed under strict orders by the United States Homeland Security Division. I am forbidden from speaking of what I saw, what I heard, or what I now carry within me. They reminded me, I am a soldier. I follow orders. No exceptions. December 30, 1956. This is my final entry. The years since that day have been long and heavy. I have kept my oath. I have guarded the secret against my own will, against my values, and against my conscience. But I can no longer stay silent. My time is drawing to a close. I feel the weight of passing days, and I know, the truth must outlive me. For truth, like light, always finds its way through. What I saw reshaped my soul. It set me free from illusions. I have glimpsed what lies behind the curtain of this world, beyond governments, beyond science, beyond even belief. I have seen the machine we serve, the monstrous war engine that devours men and ideas in the name of order. A long night is coming. A spiritual night. But even the darkest sky must someday surrender to dawn. When that polar night ends, a diamond of truth will blaze across the sky, and those who have long wandered in darkness will be bathed in its brilliance. Because I have seen it. A land beyond the poles, the beating heart of the great unknown. And now, I ask you, reader, seeker, doubter. What lies beneath the ground we walk upon? Who draws the boundaries of what we are allowed to believe? Is our world truly what it seems, or only what we've been told? If a man is shown the truth, but the world refuses to listen, does the truth cease to exist? And finally, If another world exists alongside our own, watching, waiting, guiding, who are they to us? Or more hauntingly, who are we to them? This is not a tale of fantasy. This is a record. A warning. And perhaps, an invitation. Admiral Richard E. Byrd. December 24, 1956.